Imagine you're gonna go to jail for your crusty ass. Okay. All right. Here's AOC talking about capitalism to Yahoo Finance of all fucking places. Let's see what she had to say.
In a broad sense, because when we toss out these big words, capitalism, socialism, they get, sensationalized, and people translate them into meaning things that perhaps they don't mean. So, to me, capitalism, at its core, what we're talking about when we talk about that, is the absolute pursuit of profit at all human, environmental, and social cost. That is what we're really discussing. And what we're also discussing is the ability for a very small group of actual capitalists, and that is people who have so much money that their money makes money and they don't have to work. And they can control industry, they can control our energy sources, they can control our labor, they can control massive markets that they dictate and can capture governments, and they can essentially have power over the many. And to me, that is not a redeemable system for us to be able to participate in for the prosperity and peace for the vast majority of people.
So people talk about stakeholder capitalism, right? Like Larry Fink at BlackRock, or
Yo, that shit is so dumb. Oh, just stakeholder capitalism, dude. We just haven't capitalismed better yet. You know what I mean? We're just gonna get it right. We're gonna do capitalism better. That shit's for the birds, okay? That shit's for the sock dems who want to believe that, like, there's a redeemable part of this, okay? That this entire system was not designed to specifically create this outcome that you're seeing, this inequality that you're experiencing.
The weighting for different constituents besides shareholders is more equal. Is that something you'd be amenable to?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's it is about who has control over the very core assets of production in society. If it ultimately comes down to a billionaire or the Koch brothers or the Koch family having control over the vast majority or large plurality of our oil assets in the United States, if it's a handful of very wealthy families having control over, private families having control over means of production, that is essentially the capitalist system that we live in. It is a small group that is of privatized control over what we eat and how we fuel our society. Now, where we can transition to, and there are certain ideas where we're talking about, for example, Elizabeth Warren has discussed workers being elected to the boards, governing boards of companies, and also, we're here in the Bronx. I represent a community that has the largest concentration of worker cooperatives in
I thought you called over sock them. What? No, I don't. That's not a thing that I do.
In, one of the largest concentrations in the world. Now, these are alternative ways of doing business. Free markets are not the same thing as capitalism. And you can have markets where businesses and ways of producing, trading, selling goods are really controlled, and not just controlled, but given more power to workers. People get a fair shake. Union jobs, unionized workplaces. All of these are different steps and levels that we're talking about in a more just economy.
Neoliberalism is pretty key to this discussion too, though. Many centrists love to ignore that word while saying they're progressive law. Stakeholder capitalism doesn't do shit for the global south, but sock dems literally can't comprehend that. It's not going to happen anyway, so it doesn't matter. What are you talking about? Like, that's a ridiculous assertion. There is no material change that will ever occur in a country like the United States of America just purely on the fucking virtue of rich people deciding that we should change it a little bit. Okay? It goes against the reason why society is organized in the way that it is. Okay? So sock dems don't even realize that, like, even if they wanted the world to be like Norway, okay? Even if they don't care about what that does to the global south or continues to do to the global south, as like we all live as labor aristocrats here in the first world, reaping the rewards and the fruits of the labor of the third world that we routinely exploit and subjugate through, global conflict, imperialism, the highest state of capitalism, right? But even if you didn't care about all that shit, like, and you were like, I'm a sock dem, I'm a social democrat, you're never gonna get to social democracy without like having outside or inside anti-capitalist forces pushing along the way. Think about the reason why. So we just give up on socialism, socialist values? No, I'm talking about fucking sock dems I'm talking about social democrats being wrong about the way history has worked. Okay? Like, they're wrong. Like, even FDR was not pushed by social democrats, and then he like decided to, decided to do the New Deal on his own. It was because of labor militancy. It was labor militancy. It was robust, the socialist, communist parties, movements that were working in unison. So, like, even in the interim period, even in the short term, America should be a social democracy. I think that's viable. But I just don't believe that it will happen without any sort of fucking extra, without any sort of organizing and without actual, like, fucking, revolutionary people and radical activists pushing for organizing everywhere and, pressuring the government, pressuring places of work, pressuring key points of industry, like important choke points that you can shut off. But obviously we do not have an organized labor force that could do that. So ultimately, I don't really talk about it too much. Like Marxist-Leninists, socialists, social democrats, democratic socialists. It doesn't fucking matter because ultimately I'm here to address the problems. I'm here to tell you what my solutions are. And in the short term, everyone's a fucking social democrat. Bernie Sanders is a social democrat. In America, in the short term, you're a social democrat. If you at least have somewhat of a comprehension on realpolitik, you're a social democrat. That's your first step forward. And even the fucking Marxist-Leninists that love China, for example, like Dengis and whatnot, I mean, they are literally social democrats. So I don't know why online sock dems that like love the State Department don't actually turn around and say they love China. They have a lot to literally copy from China. Why the fuck don't they like China? It doesn't make any sense. You have a country with a robust welfare state, okay? You have a country that's like doing incredible work on infrastructure projects. You have a country that is like, forcibly taking a higher percentage of wealth from the wealthiest people through a sequence of voluntary donations. I don't know. Seems pretty good. You say exploiting the global south a lot. Real question. I don't know what that really refers to, like sweatshops and not giving access to their natural resources. Well, those are some of the ways to do it. Another way to do it is, for example, when you go and you say, hey, I know your country is bombed into shit and it's fucking been cratered by either us or paramilitary forces that we gave guns and weapons and ammo to. But here's a really cool thing that we'll do for you, okay? We'll go to the IMF. We'll go to the World Bank and we'll rebuild that for you, okay? You want money, you need to rebuild your country. I mean, let's just do that. And the person that they've already put into that position of power in the puppet leadership is already like pro-West, because that's why he's in that position. So he says, yes, sir, please give me this money. So then they get this money, but this conditional loan is very restrictive. For example, if you take that money and you want to build hospitals, the IMF says, no, you can't do that to build hospitals. We didn't give you that money to build hospitals. We gave you that money to build infrastructure projects like extraction of natural resources, because your country happens to have like untapped lithium, right? Okay. So when you're under that loan deal, the way that the conditions work is you have to implement neoliberal austerity measures. Okay. They basically tell you where you are able to spend your money and where you're not able to spend your money. It's incredibly, incredibly, incredibly restrictive. They are like loan sharks. Okay. So what do? If you want to build a hospital or a school or healthcare, they say, fuck no, you can't do that. Not only are you going to build mines, for example, you're going to build those mines with our companies. So the Western world has now loaned you the money, okay? And you can only spend that money back on Western corporations, okay? And now these are facilities that are owned and operated by Western corporations that are going to have these incredible deals, 25 years, 30 years, 40 years of being able to take your natural resources in your own country, suck your milkshake out of the fucking ground and reap the rewards at no cost to them at this point. They will be able to operate those facilities for 25 years without giving the government anything. And if you find that to be completely insane or violent, well, then welcome. You are a revolutionary Marxist, Leninist, Maoist, third worldist, because that is precisely what happens in the global South. And that is one of the many ways in which the global South is exploited. And that's part of the reason why they literally fucking look to China as a counterweight to that in the One Belt, One Road initiative. Neocolonialism. That's what this is. And that's precisely what happens. And if you ever speak out against that, or decide, for example, like, wait a minute, this is my oil. Why the fuck is British Petroleum sucking it out of the ground and not giving us anything when my people are fucking dying? And they're exploiting my people to suck it out of the ground too. Okay? Why am I not getting anything out of this? Fuck this. This is my oil. I'm taking over the facility. Well, then British Petroleum says, hold on. But we paid for this facility. We built this facility. How dare you? How dare you, my good sir? You mean to tell me that you are going to forcibly take over our facility? We are the ones who built it. That's called stealing. It's not stealing when we take your milkshake from the ground, but it is theft when you take it back for your own country. I cannot tell what this accent is. And then the CIA and the UK, the British government, the British intelligence agencies decide to do something about it. And that's why Iran is the way it is. They did that in my country. The government gave this gold extracting company, Barrick Gold, a contract that gave him 97% of the gains extracted. It is nuts. Yup. And that's how it works. That's how it works in Africa. That's how it works in most African nations. That's how it works in Latin American countries. That's how it worked in Latin American countries for a very long time.
And that's a lot of months.
And that's why social democracy works in a country like Norway that has a robust natural resources, right? But the entirety of the Norwegian extraction industry is nationalized. Okay? The entirety of the Norwegian extraction and energy industry is nationalized. Their forestry is nationalized. Their fucking their oil is nationalized. Venezuela tries to do that, it's a fucking ripperoni. Venezuela tries to do that, no, we don't like that. Fuck that shit. I believe the country that chatters everything is my country, Dominican Republic. I feel like you're entirely aware that a revolution of the entire global working class is the only means to save millions of lives on our earth. So why do you still advocate for the slow pro-capitalist, slow democratic socialism methods like that of Sweden or somewhere, as opposed to decentralized community anti-capitalist action? Serious question, homie. What do you mean decentralized anti-capitalist community anti-capitalist action? I live in America. If you want to fucking organize in the third world where there is actually revolutionary potential, that's it. There's no other place on this planet where there is revolutionary potential. That's it. There is no proletarian, revolutionary proletarian potential in anywhere but the global south. Okay? And if you organize out there, that's great. More power to you. But the only thing I can do here in America as an American leftist is to help out as many people as possible to uplift the working conditions of American workers, ultimately to a degree where, like, if you were to end up having some kind of fucking action in your own country, then having more leftists in positions of power would be able to offer,
let's go,
if not material support, which is very unlikely, but at the very least a stopgap measure against what the imperialist United States, what the imperialist capitalist United States would normally do in a situation like that. But like, if you think like I'm in favor of like decentralized communes or whatever, I'm not. I am not, and I don't believe in it. And I'm not an anarchist. I'm not. Like I vibe with the anarchists, like the anti-capitalist anarchists. Like, I see you, I hear you, you're great. I love you. You're at the forefront of a lot of activism, and that's beautiful. But like, I'm not an anarchist. I believe in order. Okay? I believe in centralized control. I believe in order. I believe that it's I 100% agree with Zizek on his interpretation of anarchy and anarchism in general. Like, I do not want direct democracy at every stage, at every step. That is not a life worth living.
Hey, Chad.
You know, take care of that stuff. I don't want to take care of it. Also, I take showers every morning.
Or this is a different type of enemy than we're used to.
What the fuck?
And we're adjusting our...
Is there going to be... This is why the Guantanamo Bay is still